Chapter 356. A Muslim Girl in the West, Section 9. Whether due to luck or ingenuity, the plot of the 4 Muslim female terrorists was cleverly masterminded and successfully carried out. The entire police department remained awake and alert the whole night, busy in interrogating those 50 young Muslim women while the 4 attackers had a peaceful sleep. As early as 4 o'clock in the morning, the 4 young Muslim women performed their morning prayer. Then, they spent few hours reciting verses from the Quran. Sister Sakina kept supporting and encouraging them with some verses from the Quran that spoke about jihad against the infidels and the rewards that Allah prepared for the Muslim martyrs who die in jihad against the infidels. The attacks were planned to take places at the same time. The first girl was supposed to drive a truck loaded with bombs inside a government building during the working hours. As we know, this building did not collapse alone but brought down along with it another building. In actual fact, Abbas did not plan it that way, but also he did not exclude that possibility. The second girl was told to drive another car and intercept a fast-running train. The third girl was instructed to drive a small car inside the airport premises. The fourth girl was supposed to collide her car inside a famous cinema theater. The 4 girls left the house of Sakina and Abbas and headed towards their target unnoticed and unsuspected by the police. Abbas knew that no Greek police would suspect or expect that a woman would have the nerve and the courage to kill herself in order to kill others in that horrifying way. Those 4 Muslim girls drove their vehicles as if they were going for a picnic. No fears or tears ever seen or noticed by anyone who might have seen them on that particular day. Although each one of them knew and understood what she was going to face in a few minutes, she did not waver for a second but kept looking at what she was going to achieve and get in the hereafter. Each one kept repeating the famous Quranic verse that said, "Do not consider those who died in the way of Allah are dead, but they are living with their Lord and their Lord feed them." Surah 3, verse 169. The last time those girls saw each other was at the Abbas and Sakina's house. Each one took different direction as soon as her car emerged out of the Muslim crowded area. The attacks were planned to take place on Friday afternoon for very important reason. Abbas knew that Friday afternoon was the time when each devout Muslim man and woman would attend the public prayer. If any Muslim caught into those targeted places and got killed, then his blood would be upon his head. Besides that, Abbas believed that the collective prayers of the faithful Muslims at Friday afternoon would move the heart of Allah and give success to the 4 martyrs. Among the 4 girls, the first one did complete damages to her target and killed thousands of innocent people. She was able to drive her truck inside the building. The security guards thought that the driver was immigrant woman who couldn't able to control her truck. They looked at her with pity when they saw the truck collided inside the eastern corner of the building. One of them called 911 and asked for an ambulance because he thought the Muslim woman might have injured herself when her truck swerved from the main street and hit the building. At that critical moment, the security men were taken by surprise when they heard the powerful explosion. The tall building was hit at the base. It almost suspended for a couple of seconds on the air before it fell on the adjoining tower. The later tower could not withstand the massive weight of the former tower and both buildings went tumbling down, burying beneath them thousands of government employees and workers. The second girl reached a couple of minutes late from her scheduled time of attack. She supposed to collide her truck with a fast-running train headlong. But, she reached at the time that the train was halfway. She drove her truck inside the running train. Her truck exploded at the moment it hit the train. Many compartments caught fire when the powerful explosion wrecked them. It was difficult to describe the graphic images of those passengers who managed to jump out of that speeding train with some of their limbs chopped off while the flames consuming the rest of their bodies. Some compartments went off tracks and overturned. Although this girl did not kill as many as the first one did, but those who survived her brutal attack would remain disabled the rest of their lives. The third girl got the less dangerous mission among the 4. She was instructed by Abbas to drive her car inside a cinema hall. She was driving a small car. She turned out of the street and collided her car against the cinema hall. Her car exploded at once when it hit the concrete wall. Some people were killed, but so many managed to escape safely. The building was not destroyed as Abbas expected. It was a big shopping center. Her suicidal mission was not as successful as the first two girls. The fourth girl had fully failed to carry out her mission successfully. She was sent to the Athens International Airport. Her mission was to drive her car on the fencing and then head to one of the big buildings in the airport. When she would reach her target, she was supposed to pull the explosive trigger. She was driving a small car too. Fortunately, when her car hit the fencing, it exploded there. It caused some considerable damage on a storage building near the place where she tried to break inside the airport and reach her target. Few people were killed inside the storage room and some badly injured. The last two girls could not able to carry out their attacks successfully due to the small vehicles they used as compared to the first two girls who used trucks. The terrorists' attacks on Athens became one of the head topics in the news in Sudan after the media mentioned that one of the 5 prime suspects was a Sudanese girl. The media identified the girl as the same one who was condemned to death by the Sharia court for forsaking Islam and embracing Christianity. Some religious leaders interviewed by the media uttered fatwas or religious decrees in which they said that Allah had already granted forgiveness to the blessed girl for the jihad she did in the land of the infidels. That beautiful image of the blessed girl did not last for long in the minds of millions of Sudanese Muslims who rejoiced for the supposed victory in Athens. When the FBI team unearthed the plot and exposed the terrorists who masterminded it, the Sudanese media picked up the new developments. Dr. Ibtihal and her Christian boyfriend turned out to be the main lead in exposing the terrorists. Dr. Ibtihal once again was transformed in the minds of millions in Sudan from being the angel of Allah to the agent of the West. Those religious leaders who uttered their fatwas before and considered them from Allah, they rejected them and claimed that Satan had deceived them and put words in their mouths as he did before to the Prophet Muhammad and put satanic verses in his mouth. The Western reader might not understand exactly what those religious leaders wanted to say here. It would be appropriate to explain what they meant by the satanic deception that happened to their prophet in the past and happened to them in the present. The early biographers of the Prophet Muhammad such as Al-Tabari and Ibn Sa'd tell us that Prophet Muhammad wished that Allah should not reveal to him anything that might cause the inhabitants of Makkah to reject him. While the Prophet, some of his followers, and the leaders of Qurayshi tribe were praying in the holy mosque in Mecca, he received a revelation from Allah which he read loudly as follows: Have ye seen Lat, and Uzza, and another, the third, goddess, Manat? Lat, Uzza, and Manat were the names of 3 idols of goddesses which the Arabs used to worship them and considered them the daughters of their big idol Allah, the moon god. The biographers continued to narrate that the Prophet continued to recite, they are the highest goddesses, or intercessors, and their intercession should be sought for. When Muhammad read those verses, no one remained in the holy mosque, either Muslim or Kafir or unbeliever, who had not prostrated along with the Prophet. Shortly after, Muhammad said the angel Gabriel came and rebuked him and told him that he had read to people what he had not revealed to him. Then the angel Gabriel recited to him, and their purpose was to tempt thee away from that which we had revealed unto thee, to substitute in our name something quite different. In that case, behold, they would certainly have made thee, their friend. And had we not given thee strength, thou wouldst nearly have inclined to them a little. The Prophet corrected his recitation and read the verses of Surah An-Najm as follows: Have ye seen Lat, and Uzza, and another, the third goddess, Manat? What? For you the male sex, and for him, the female? Behold, such would be indeed a division most unfair. This was the story of the Prophet Muhammad and the satanic verses which led Ayatollah Khomeini of Iran to issue fatwa in which promised to pay $2 million to anyone who would kill Salman Rushdie for mentioning it in his book, Satanic Verses. Likewise, the religious leaders in Sudan believed that the devil deceived them and put those false fatwas in their mouths. Having regretted their previous praises and promises to the accursed girl, the leaders came up with new fatwas. They promised that Allah would reward any Muslim man or woman who would shed the blood of Dr. Ibtihal and her Christian man. Through the media, all Sudanese people came to know that Dr. Samir managed to escape out of Sudan, and at present he was working in the refugees camps in Chad. Such information would soon prove to be fatal to Dr. Samir. Jennifer Jackson continued to stay in Athens and regularly spoke with Dr. Samir on the phone. She kept him updated in all the new developments of the case. The last time she talked to him, she informed him that the police was able to unearth the plot that took the lives of many innocent people in Athens. She said to him the letter that he sent with the FBI team was the main lead that unearthed the whole conspiracy. She then promised him that soon his girlfriend would be set free. Dr. Samir continued to live with that beautiful hope that someday he would be somehow united with his beloved. Meanwhile, he carried his daily activities into the camps as before. The UN medical team had 2 helicopters. Those helicopters were used for bringing medical supplies and food. They also used for transferring the medical team from camp to the other. Those camps were made in the border of Sudan-Chad. They were not having good security protection. Only few African peacekeeping soldiers were keeping watch on those camps. One day a Sudanese military helicopter crossed the border and landed in one of those camps. 15 armed Sudanese well-trained commandos emerged out of the helicopter and raided the medical clinic. Dr. Samir happened to be inside the clinic when the commandos entered it. Their machine guns in hands, and they were ready to open fire. One of the commandos ordered Dr. Samir by name to follow them. All the medical team members were in state of shock. Dr. Samir was forced to follow them at the gunpoint. When the Sudanese commandos emerged out of the medical clinic, they were intercepted by the peacekeepers. The 2 groups engaged in fierce fighting. The gun shootings roared across the camp, which caused many refugees to flee for their lives. The fight ended for the victory of the peacekeepers. All the 15 Sudanese commandos, including the captain of the helicopter, were either shot dead or wounded. The news of the invading Sudanese soldiers reached the Chadian soldiers, who were encamping not very far from those camps. When those Chadian soldiers came in, the fight had already ended. In front of the clinic, the ground was turned into a pool of blood. There were causalities in human lives in both sides. Some of the peacekeepers were shot and killed too. When the soldiers separated the living from the dead, Dr. Samir was counted among those who were badly wounded. He was shot several times in his body. He and along with other wounded soldiers were rushed in a helicopter to a nearby city.